We talk a lot about generational transitions in Burgundy, but to my mind, one of the most exciting in recent years is also one of the least talked about, and it's the subtle incremental changes that have been happening at Domaine Dugapi and Gevrey Chambertin. Now, all these three wines that I've opened here, 1999, 2007, and 2017, Chambertin, have one thing in common, absolutely, and that's great farming and very serious vine genetics. In fact, an ancestor of the Dugas at the time of phylloxera selected in the local nursery where she was working the best quality Pinot Noir selections, so small berries, open cluster architecture, and high solid to juice ratio. And the farming over this period has even gotten more refined. In the early 2000s, they started adopting organics, later biodynamics, and they've gone over to, instead of hedging the vines, rolling the canopies, a technique called tressage that makes for more rapid phenolic maturation, slower sugar accumulation, better retention of acidity, and smaller berries. So very, very serious farming, absolutely some of the best farming you can find in all of Burgundy. But the stylistic changes in the cellar that you really notice in these three wines kind of fall in between the 7 and the 17, and it was when, I think especially when like Dugapi began to transition over from his father. One of the most obvious things, and I think we sometimes conflate extraction, oak, and ripeness all as one, and these wines have always been picked pretty early, so ripeness is not really part of the equation, but you notice between the 7 and the 17 a real improvement in the quality of the new oak that the domain is getting. And I know that Loic has been working really hard with Francois Frère to select barrels that have the least possible aromatic impact, but bring the most refined structural complements to what's already there, and lift the aromas without masking them. You really notice that aromatically. On the palate, and this goes hand in hand with the quality of the oak, a lighter touch with extraction. I don't know whether it's a little bit less pichage or less aggressive pichage, but the tannins have this sort of velouté quality. They're creamy, powdery. There's none of the firmness that you can find in some of the tannins of the older wine. That's not to disparage the older wines, and I think especially the Grand Cru from even the mid-90s and before certainly have aged very well indeed. And you can see why before they were estate bottling, La Louise-Leroy used to buy the Chambertin from the Dugas family. But it's amazing how when you're working with great raw materials, these very subtle technical evolutions in winemaking can translate into almost a revolution in terms of the style of the wines. I know that they're quite expensive wines and produced in very small production and not really easy to get hold of, but I think they belong in the conversation of the very best domains in Burgundy today. And I would encourage people who maybe haven't tried them for a decade to check out what they're doing today, because this 17 Chambertin, magical wine.